board is good with this, I'll go kind of abbreviated through all of the slides. I also brought a little bit of additional information with me based on some questions that were asked on Tuesday night to try to maybe clarify some of those things. But again, as I'm going through this, I'm going to go pretty quick. But if you've got any questions, please feel free to stop me, and we'll answer those as we go. Real quick before I got started, I wanted to thank a couple people in the room, Miss Emily Crowell, Miss Terry Morgan, Miss Mandy Waters. This budget could not be done without these three ladies. So they were instrumental in this. They're kind of the behind-the-scenes people. Emily and I, about 45 days leading up to today, if you stood out in front of our offices, you'd think we were negotiating a trade deal with China. So moving people around and numbers around and everything else. Terry's kind of the one that helped me build all of the budget imports. And then Mandy is our federal programs bookkeeper. So all of this federal money moving around, she is instrumental in that. So I just wanted to personally thank the three of them. All right, so we'll get rolling here. Like I said, stop me with questions. So overall budget for this year, we're looking at an ending fund balance of $48.3 million. $35 million of that's our general fund, 3.6 special revenue, and $7 million capital projects. Our fiduciary expendable trust funds, again, that's our local school dollars that are housed at the local school. So that reduction in the general fund, I explained this on Tuesday night, that's kind of a misleading number when you're looking at the budget because $7 million of that reduction, that money has been sent in this fiscal year, but we'll spend it in next fiscal year. And that's about $7 million of that $10 million reduction. So, all right, total income from fund sources. Again, you can see predominantly most of our income comes from the state, 60%, 26% local, and 14% federal. Other, again, represents donations, legislative appropriations, and our tuition that we collect. All right, comparisons of 25 to 26. You can see our total expenditures are going to go up. Again, a lot of that has to deal with our construction projects. We're looking at about $5.9 million remaining to pay out on the indoor practice facility. And then the additional capital outlay is on our other ongoing projects and our projects that are up and coming. All right, budgeted functional expenditures, just kind of a breakdown of where that money goes. Again, instructional services is a little over half of our spending. That's personnel, salary, and benefits. Instructional support services would be salary and benefits of our support personnel. So roughly 69% of our funds are spent on personnel. Proposed general fund budget, you can see what's included in that is our predominantly state revenue, our foundation funds. $1.3 million of federal money goes into that general fund. That's our impact aid money that we get, and that's derived from our Fort Rooker students. So that is a tremendous help to our general fund. All right. I changed it on my slide with Brad, but I don't think we used that version of it. But that is actually a plus 43.3. We caught that at the last meeting. It is changed on one of our versions of the slides, but it didn't make it here on this one. So to give you a little additional information on System ADM, because we talked about this the other night, and keep in mind, this is current numbers. So these numbers are still subject to change because our official number that we snapshot and send to the state is 20 days after Labor Day. So whatever enrollment we have on that day, that's the number the state uses for the next year's allocations. So as of today, we're down 95 students from last year. So if that number holds, which it won't, because you can probably go up to the lobby when you leave and there'll be somebody either enrolling or unenrolling, one or the other. That goes on all day, every day, these first couple months of school. That number will be approximately a 95 reduction next year. But again, that number is subject to change. The official number will be 20 days after Labor Day. 1.41 increase in foundational units. We lost a half of a unit of assistant principal of funding of a half a unit. We still have that assistant principal there. And we gained 1.91 teachers for a total increase of 1.41. All right, state allocations, comparison of 25 to 26. Again, you can see a total increase of $1.6 million down there at the bottom. I won't go through, I think most of our veteran board members know about the CIS money, so I won't go into detail explaining that, but if you got any questions, please stop me on that. But just a kind of a quick recap of those local funds, those are the dollars that we're required to put in to participate in the foundation program. So we actually move local dollars from general fund into that foundation pot, and that makes us eligible to receive those state dollars. All right, state mandates and budget constraints. Insurance went up this year. For several years, it had been $9,600 per employee, and that's our cost. That's the amount that we pay as a board annually for our employees to have insurance coverage. That number went up to $10,848 per employee, which is an increase of $104 per month per employee. Retirement also went up a percent per tier. So your tier 1 is now 14.57 and tier 2 is 13.61. Again, that's what we contribute to our employee retirement. Instructional support, again, that's just a breakdown of the previous slide of what we're receiving per unit. And again, that's based on the units earned in the foundation program. And then we talked about our foundation match and our capital fund match. All right. Budgeted, and that should say for FY26. I changed that again on my originals, but it didn't make it up here. So for FY26, units earned, you can see our total units earned, 413.21. That's our certified units. And then you can see where we're paying our other state, that's mostly support staff, and then our federal units and our local units. We have an increase of 7 units system-wide to 844, but we have a decrease of local units of 8.92. So that's stripping units that we were paying out of our local general fund, we're now paying with either state or federal dollars. So that's a help to our general fund budget. Various state-funded programs operating within the general fund. So again, transportation operations is included in that, fleet renewal, and for our board members that weren't here Tuesday, fleet renewal can carry over. We've been carrying that over for several years. We have a little over $2 million in that account. The way we've been buying buses up until this year was through A&T, Advancement in Technology funds. We've decided this year to use a little bit of that built-up capital money for buses, on buses this year, and use our A&T for other functions. So we're actually going to use this $515,000 and a little bit of the $2 million that we already have on hand to purchase 6 buses this year. And all of our buses are on fleet renewal. They're all 10 years old or newer. So we're fully funded right now for our fleet, which is a really good thing. Not a lot of systems in the state can claim that. So we're really proud of being able to do that. The RAISE Act, that's new money this year from the state. That was appropriated by the state legislature. And I'll go over with some of my additional information what we're using those funds for. But they've essentially combined 4 old pots of money into 1 pot of money in the RAISE Act. They've combined some state gifted, state poverty, state EL, and state ESL money into 1 pot. So that gets really tricky because those 4 pots were managed by 2 different directors. Now I have 1 pot of money and I still have 2 directors. So we all have to come together and come to a consensus on how we're spending that pot of money. Technology coordinator, again, that's Brad. And then our Career Tech O&M and bully prevention funds also are housed within those state funds within the general fund. General fund budgeted expenditures, again, kind of breaking that out into different groupings. Instructional services, instructional support services are 2 big functions, salary and benefits. And you can kind of see operations and maintenance. Auxiliary services, that's your transportation, that's your C&P staff, et cetera. And then our capital outlay funds, what we're going to spend about $4.5 million of what we're taking in this year, in addition to some funds we already have on hand. All right, transportation, again, 73 bus drivers this year. We have 73 routes, 73 route buses, and then we have 10 spare buses. Now, our spare buses aren't on fleet renewal, but that's planned, and you're not allowed to include spare buses on on your route as far as funding purposes. They're included in the route report submitted to the state, but not for funding. 3 mechanics and 2.5 admin. And again, that 2.5 admin, the other half is with operations and maintenance. That bookkeeper serves the function of transportation and maintenance bookkeeping. All right, operations and maintenance, Matt's budget, $6 million. So, and I assure you, he will not have any trouble spending every penny of that. So we will get it done. Did you say you have a question? Okay.
Did you find the same mistake I found?
And I pick on Matt a lot, and I know Dr. Thomas does as well, but Matt does a fantastic job, and he stays on top of everything, and so I wouldn't want to do that with anybody else. Matt he's a master of his craft, so we trust him with that $6 million. All right, technology, $1.7 million coming in from the state this year. The A&T money that I spoke about with the buses that we have been using for buses, we're shifting some of that. So $500,000 of that money is going to laptops and Chromebooks this year. That will cover most of the cost of laptops and Chromebooks. It'll probably be a little bit more. But we try to stay on top and keep those updated as much as possible. All right, special revenue funds, $13.5 million. Again, that's predominantly our federal money that is received. Title I, all right, $1.785 million. There was an increase of about $250,000 this year to Title I, so that was beneficial. That money is divided out amongst our Title I schools, and on this slide, I kind of recapped what we're utilizing those funds for at each of the schools. And then some additional information I brought with me. We have one elementary school that's not Title I, so kind of how we supplement that for this specific year, they're receiving 0.88 of a unit for a CALT teacher. That's a highly trained dyslexia teacher. They pull students from the class. They're getting 0.73 of a unit for ESL for an actual teaching unit. That's a teacher that works with your English limited students. And then they're also getting a teaching unit of a high needs special ed. That is actually a grant that Ms. Joy Lee Kane writes each year. Anytime you have a special needs student or students that require additional care above and beyond what a special ed program typically provides, you can request for additional funds and explain the situation. And typically those grant awards are given to us based on those needs. So that allowed us to add an additional unit at Holly Hill, specifically as a special ed teacher. And then they're also getting 3 new support staff. 2 of those will be special needs. 1 of those will be a regular classroom aide. And 2 of those positions are currently unfilled. We're trying to fill those 2 special ed aide positions right now. So that's just kind of an example that I wanted to give you of at a non-Title I school, some additional funds that we put at that school in lieu of Title I. Title II, Part A, that's for class size reduction. Those 3.65 units, I also wanted to kind of provide you some information of where those are going. 1.65 of those units is at the high school. 1 unit is at Holly Hill, and 1 unit is at Brookwood. And essentially what that money is used for is if you have a class size that is above the recommended class size. So for example, if the class size recommendation is 24 students and they have 29 students at the start of the school year, we can add a unit there and use this funding specifically for that. But again, just to recap what I said Tuesday night, it's very specific on what teacher you can add. It cannot be a first-year teacher. It has to have a teacher that has experience, and you can show that you performance evaluated that teacher before you can assign that funding to them. So Title III, this number changed on me Wednesday morning. So it actually went up about $3,500. The state sent out a new allocation. I changed the number on my slide, but it didn't make it here, but it's about a $3,500 increase in addition to that $79,000. So, and hopefully we don't get any changes today because we're mailing this thing off this afternoon. So we'll see what we get. All right, Title IV, $127,000. Instructional supplies, that also pays for a nurse. and it pays for a portion of our math coach. Special ed, $1.4 million. Again, that money is predominantly spent on teacher unit and aides for our special ed classrooms, 2 nurses and a support staff. The one support staff's our special ed bookkeeper. She's housed at Brookwood Elementary School. The rest of the remaining of those funds are materials and supplies and other things for preschool. Federal Career Tech, $99,000. Again, that's money to support our career tech programs from the federal level. And then O&M is state career tech dollars. And that money, again, is used to support. So we use these funds, just as a quick example, like for a welding class, to buy sheet metal, to buy acetylene bottles, oxygen bottles, et cetera. That's what these type of funds are used for. All right, child nutrition program. Projected beginning fund balance, $1.5 million. You can see the revenues that we anticipate. And again, just to recap, the only profitable areas of this program is your summer feeding and your supper program. We do kind of win on those, but everything else of child nutrition is a money pit. There's no other way to put it. We're just not adequately funded for that. So our projected ending balance is $481,000, which is the 1-month reserve. And if you guys remember, you're required to have a 1 month. You also get in trouble if you have excess of 3 months. So you're trying to balance between that 1 month and 3 month operating balance on year end each year with child nutrition. Debt payments, principal and interest. Again, just to kind of recap, the 2015B, that is money that we do not actually pay out. That is an allocation reduction from the State Department through our capital outlay funds. So once that goes away in 2029, our allocation will actually go up because they'll no longer be stripping that principal and interest payment off the top of that before they send that to us. 2017 P&C, payoffs 2030. Again, really low interest rate, 2.38% on that. So right now, as interest rates stand, we want to keep that debt and continue to pay on it because we're making more funds with our money in the bank. And then the last one there, 2024 capital warrant, that was our bond issuance for the indoor practice facility. You can see payoff on that's 2044. That is a 20-year note. Because it's a bond issuance, we cannot pay that off until we at least reach the 10-year mark on that. But at the 10-year mark, we can refinance, we can pay it off. We'll see what's going on at that time and make a decision then based on interest rates and current economy and current fund balance of the school board. So that last number that you see there, ending fiscal year in 2026, if we had to write a check and pay everything off, that's what we'd owe, $24.6 million. And if you add those numbers up, it's a little different than the 24.6. What I build in there is our fees that are also charged, and those change from year to year. So like, for example, on the 2024 capital warrants, Regions is who manages that debt. They charge us a management fee, and based on whatever metrics they decide, that fee can change from year to year. This year, that fee was about $4,400. So, and they charge that each time we make a payment, which they're semi-annual, we get a fee invoice. Capital Projects Fund, projected carryover balance from 25 is $12.7 million. Ending balance is $7.1 million. Again, that's everything we currently have going on, plus when we had our work session the other night, the projects that are up and coming, all of that's rolled into this. So that's kind of assuming every one of those projects get done and every one of those projects kind of hit our anticipated budgeted marks. We should be left with about $7.1 million at the end this time next year. All right, and that's all I had, unless you guys have questions.
Can I just ask a general question?
Sure.
How do you lose a teacher unit? Like, I've been to other schools and they say, we lost a unit, like a sped unit or.
That's a great question. So it's based on student enrollment. So for every 25 students, you earn an additional teacher unit. And so that 25 number is kind of your pivot point, but then they do fractional units. So say you lost 18 students, you might lose 0.75 of a unit. So it's all based on the number of students, based on that 20-day after after Labor Day count
Okay.
for the next year. So the funding of the units that we earned this year are based on what we turned in October of 2024. So, yes, ma'am.
Jesse, we did it, you're just, thank you.
Well, thank you.
I mean, I don't know how you can enjoy a budget hearing, but thank you, and we did good by getting you.
Well, I appreciate that. I
I feel so
appreciate
proud.
Well,
Yeah,
well,
thank
I
you.
appreciate all the nice things you say about me. Yeah.
And we appreciate you all
Yes.
supporting him.
Well,
Yes.
and that's what I wanted to say. I get a lot of the accolades from you guys, and they're very appreciated, but none of this could be done without these ladies sitting behind me. They are instrumental
You
to,
forgot Danner,
to what we do. Well,
and Patrick's not here either.
and listen, Danner, to only have been here less than 60 days when he gave me, he was the first one to turn in his budget. There were 0 errors in his budget.
Wow.
I was very impressed. And so,
Former math teacher.
yeah, so,
He's just an overachiever.
yes. So, but no,
I think he upset some of the other people because his was the only one that he had a color chart.
yeah, his was color coded. It was very easy to follow. I had no questions for him. So, I mean, it was top notch.
Trying to take your job.
That's right.
He was messing up the curve.
You've been letting him off when you got a chance.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. James, for this presentation. I now turn the meeting over to Dr. Thomas.
Thank you again, Mr. James.
Yes,
You
sir.
did a great job. I appreciate it. Like, it's been wonderful working with you the past, it feels like it's been more than a year, but this is going in your second year here, but we're glad to have you. Budget hearings were held on September 9th and 11th for the 2025-2026 budget. It is my recommendation that you approve the budget as presented for fiscal year 2026, beginning October 1, 2025 through September 30th, 2026.
Board, you have heard Dr. Thomas's recommendation to approve the 2025-2026 budget. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second?
Is there any discussion? All in favor of approving the budget, please raise your right hand.
Board, you have had time to review the 5-year capital plan. This plan can be changed as needed. However, we must submit a copy of our board-approved 5-year capital plan to the Alabama State Department of Education each year. It is my recommendation that you approve the 2026-2030 capital plan as presented.
Board, you have heard Dr. Thomas's recommendation for the approval of the 2026-2030 capital plan. May I have a motion? May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor of approving the capital plan, please raise your right hand.
Board, in your packet is a proposed wording change to Enterprise City Schools Board Policy 5.10, Employee Leave Section, that was reviewed at the July 31st meeting. This change would impact the recently approved paid parental leave state law. It is my recommendation that you approve the wording change to Board Policy 5.10 as presented.
Board, you have heard Dr. Thomas's recommendation to approve the wording change on Board Policy 5.10, Employee Leave. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor of approving the board policy wording change, please raise your right hand.
Next, you've been provided with 3 adult care, 3 adult care center meal contracts from our child nutrition program that I would like to present as one consent agenda item. It is my recommendation that you approve the CMP consent agenda items as presented.
Board, you have heard Dr. Thomas's recommendation to approve the CMP consent agenda items. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
This is something we always do, right? Seem like I remember that. Okay.
Yes.
And just let me say this, we had questions about the CMP. If you saw that form, just to let you know, that's where they tell us how much they pay us per meal.
I saw that, yeah, thank
Okay,
you,
good.
thank you, yeah.
All right. All in favor of approving the CMP consent agenda items, please raise your right hand.
Board, you have a copy of the personnel list in your packet. It is my recommendation that you approve the personnel action items as presented on the personnel list for transfers, retirements, resignations, and employments.
Board, you have heard Dr. Thomas's recommendation to approve all personnel items. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Do we have a common denominator for, besides the teams, for resignations, why people are leaving? Do we do exit interviews to find out?
We
why
do
folks are
try to
leaving?
figure out why. I mean, in well, I'll get into, we'll talk.
Okay.
We'll talk. We'll talk after this.
All in favor of approving the personnel action items, please raise your right hand.
I did have a question about how's the bus driver thing going? Because I know
If
that's
you know
always
anybody.
like, huh?
If you know anybody, you have a
Yeah.
friend.
I know that's an ongoing,
It is. It's, you know,
I think my
what's
neighbor
hurt
drives.
is at this point in time, we've had some health issues. So some people are having to take leave, so we're short a little bit. Yeah, so, you know, our bus driving, they're starting their crew. We just hired some, you just recommended and approved some new people, just a second ago there, I think. But we just cannot get everybody healthy, so everybody can, people have to have surgeries or just various things, and some things you can't control when they occur. So some things you can't put off, you just have to. But that's kind of, when I was talking to Ms. McCoy last week, that's kind of where we are right now. But if you know of anyone, we'll, you know, send them over.
thank you.
Again, thank you, Mr. James. I appreciate you. And like I said, you've been wonderful to work with. Feels like I've known him forever. I mean, we get along very well, probably too well, at times. But, and thank you, everybody, for your involvement and supporting of him in that effort. And, you know, I didn't see any hair frailing or gnashing of teeth or anything throughout the whole process. Everybody got it done. But thank you all for all your efforts and contributions to the overall budget, but also what you guys do every day. I mean, you don't, I really appreciate all of you. Even Matt with all his money, you know, he has a reason for spending all of the money he spends, but, you know, but he keeps, make sure we have our air conditioners going and everything, and just a lot of different things in the yards cut and stuff. So, but just thank you all, and I appreciate you. Thank you, board, for your support in our efforts to do what we do. So I'm excited about today. We'll get to go around and do a little tour. I'm excited to show you kind of some of what you had input on. So thank you.
We appreciate your attendance this morning and look forward to our upcoming regular board meeting on September 30th, a riveting board meeting at 5 p.m.